I'm sorry for the interruption. I do not understand why, but Flashback Recorder crashed. I'm going to make sure that I don't have anything else really important running that could cause that challenge, that difficulty. Okay, I don't know what that was about. I've never had a crash before. So, continuing on. Tidying up with my curvature graph a little. That's okay, that'll do. Now it's obvious these don't match. Okay, so I'm going to do Curve, Edit Tools, Match. Pick this side, that side, okay? And I'm going to select Position, Average Curves. Okay, that will break history. I'm going to do the same thing down here. Match Position. Okay. Throw away the one side and mirror with history again. I come into the control points. I'm going to grab the anchor point, the next first one out from the seam here, using Point Snap. Pull it on top of the point, leave it selected, and enter again. First position, point, pick. Then I'm going to hold Shift key and pull straight out. That will establish tangency. Now I could have had Match Curve do tangency for me, but I wanted control over the tangency directly, so I did it this way. Plus it's always fun to give you another chance to use that technique of sliding your points in and out to create your own tangency. Picking both of those points. If I want to keep tangency, I have to keep those 2 points together. As long as they're together when I move them, I can do whatever I want to with them, and tangency from left to right will be maintained. I'm going to repeat the same practice down here, same technique. Move it once, move it twice. Okay. Perhaps not the most lovely tri-lobal leaf form ever come up with, but it's not bad. Joining together. The drawing portion is done. Okay. Now I need to create my surface. Several options are available to you for creating your surface. Unfortunately, there isn't a plane option that allows you to pull it from the center, or that's what I would choose. So I will do a curve first, our usual rectangle from center for creating a boundary. I'll start at 0, and then other corner or length, I'll just pull a box that I think will fit. I want to leave scrap on the edges. I don't want it to fit too tightly, in other words. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to pick a dark colored layer just for visibility here, and on my surface tools I'll just do planar surface. I can throw away that outline curve now. And I am going to move this off the ground. Doesn't matter how far. Just far enough that I have room to work. I'm going to go into Shaded Viewport. I want this piece, I don't know how big I want the outside to be, but I want the thickness of the piece to be about 2 millimeters. Okay? Roughly. So I'll come up with my final scale that way. I'll go back into top C-plane, turn on my white layer, curve tools, project curves with history. Select my surface. I want it to say delete input no. This is very important. If this deletes the input, which is how we normally do it, you'll break history. You won't have any history. So you have to keep the original there. So delete input needs to equal no. If yours says yes, make it no. Enter. Going to confirm that my history took, and it didn't. Okay? That's important, because if my history didn't take, I have to do it again. The reason history didn't take is I didn't hit record history before I started the chain of command. Check history again. Alright. One more time. I'm pre-selecting this time, recording history. Okay, try one more thing. Perhaps I cannot move the surface, but I can move its points. I've never actually tried moving the surface before. Yes, that was the problem. Okay, history's good. I just can't move the surface around. I can move the subobject of the surface, which are its control points, but not the surface itself. Oh, I didn't know that. Learn something new every day, guys. Okay, so I'm going to rebuild this surface into a sculptable surface. I'm going to want to have an odd number of points, especially in this direction, so that I can have a center seam for my leaf. So F5. The green arrows are generally your U direction. So if you want them to go in this direction, you want to have a lot of points. You can put in 75. And actually, I am wrong. That put them in. Let's take a look. Because I've always wanted to figure this out. Be honest with you. Always wanted to know. Okay? No. Okay. So the green arrows are actually rebuild. The green arrows, well, it depends on how you want to read them, actually. I guess that did work in a way. The lines going this way became a whole bunch, but my mind isn't going to work that way. So the arrows are for your reference. So figure out how you want to look at them. I saw that as putting a whole lot of points in this direction, which is the red arrow. So I'm calling the red arrow U from now on. And I don't want that many. I want 9. In the V direction, 9 is also a good place to start. 4, 4. 9, 9, 4, 4. Okay. I want to offset this surface 2 millimeters. Surface menu. Offset surface. I want it to go below, so it's going to be a minus direction from what those arrows are. Minus 2. Hit enter twice. Okay. So that's my thickness. And actually that's working. That size is pretty good. If it weren't good, okay, if this suddenly looked really, really thin for the size of my leaf, if that had been the case, then I would have had to scale the whole operation one way or another. But for your reference, to make your life easier, make your leaf roughly my size here, which is analyze length 26 millimeters. Okay, about an inch. That is a pretty big leaf. if I were going to scale this, I would not scale the surfaces. I would only scale the leaf, and I would only scale the drawing on the ground. So I would do regular scale. Center would be fine for our purposes. And that would give me a better idea, okay, of how it's going to fit. But that's a very chunky form. Maybe that's a little bit thin, so I'll scale it a little bit. Fine. And now I'm going to start to sculpt. Turn on my points. I need to get my control point editing tool out here, so I'm going to go to Select, Lasso. Okay. So make sure I get the right direction going. Here we go. Go into a vertical C-plane and enter. And I begin to sculpt my leaf. Okay. I made this, you'll notice I always change my C-plane, my vertical C-plane, so that I have a C-plane behind me as I work. In other software programs, they'll often do that automatically. You'll just revolve and the C-plane will constantly update to be behind where you're at. Rhino has you set it. And there's goodnesses to both of those things. There's a reason why both of those approaches would be good. Okay? I've decided I don't want to drop the whole seam necessarily. So I'll start from here. I'll grab those three. Just setting my C-plane once again so it's behind me. Yeah. That's what I want. Now, you remember I had just talked about how to make a corner, a corner, using control points. The same is true with surfaces. So if I want to create a crease, I need control points right here. So I'm going to go to Edit, Control Points, Insert Knot. Select Surface or Curve. I'll select my purple surface. Okay. I want it in the opposite direction of that, not U, but V. So I can either click on the direction, change it to V, or the fast way is just to use keyboard. U enter makes it U, V enter makes it V. I want it symmetrical, so symmetrical, yes. And I want these close. Done. Okay, now sadly it doesn't put them exactly where you say you want them. It just added a row of points. So it's nice to say you want them close, but Rhino may not comply. I'm going to select these two. Okay. And I'm going to scale them inward. Non-uniform scale, 0 enter is fine for an origin. And I'm going to pull them this way. Hold down my Alt button with my thumb to deactivate, to disable my object snaps temporarily. I don't want anything to happen there. I don't want anything to happen. Oh, my bad. Actually, I had a number in there for the Y. Right there, it already had a number for my last scale. It remembers the last one. I have to change that to 1. It's good, you got to see me do that. And you'll see that you can actually see it starting to happen in the surface. See that slight crease that's going on? Now if I grab these 3 points going to lock that bottom surface and my drawing layer, my basic drawing layer, so I don't hit them accidentally. And I move them back up. I'll go into a vertical C-plane. I will get a fairly concise vein form or crease down the center, which is what I want. I want it softer at the ends, so I'll bring it down a little bit. Let the middle rise up and out. Okay, now I'm going to think about what else I might want to do sculpturally with my leaf using these control points. I want everything to be symmetrical, or not, but to begin with, certainly, I want to keep things symmetrical. Give my leaves a little bit of a swell. I'd like that swelling to continue out toward the edges. And you'll see my curve is updating because of the history, and that's very important. I don't want the crease to be as notable here. So I can either try and make it come into the same plane as these points, which will make it straight, but there's another way I can do that, and it's going to be more predictable. I'm going to go back into my top C-plane, going to do a non-uniform scale. I can actually just grab the center point, any of the center points. They're in the middle. I'm going to scale them away from each other. And you'll see that that will help soften that valley. This time I'll use 0 as my origin point. And I can just keep scaling these a little bit. Now I'd like to be able to scale them a lot, but for some reason, there we go. My pick points were making it hard for me. Okay, so now it starts out soft and becomes more of a crease. You can see I'm getting more of a swoop in the middle. I'd like to have a little bit more of a hump there, so I'll keep those 2 points selected and move them up. Okay. I would like the back of my leaf to roll off. So actually, I'll just start with this row. Move it down some. Add that row. Move it down some more. It's not going to really start impacting my leaf until the next row, but I want a nice smooth surface, so I'll do it one step at a time anyway. Okay, I like that. I would like the middle of my leaf to rise up, particularly here and here. If you can't find your control points, I'm going, gee, I don't have a control point here where I need it. If you actually look down in, you'll see this yellow dotted line of selection. It leads to the next point, so if you click where it ends, you know you've got one. And since I know I've got one there, I'll just click around until I find the other one. These are a little close to my edge for what I want to do. I want to make more of a gradual swelling through here, so I'm going to do a non-uniform scale again. Back to my default of top C-plane, pick non-uniform scale from my command list. 0 is fine. I'm going to pull them in until they come to about where I want them. 1, 1. Okay? I want to have them there. Go into a vertical C-plane. Lift them up. Lift them up some more. Now, I want to show you something. While I'm doing all of this on the top, because I offset it with history, it's also happening on the bottom. Okay. That's a pretty nice little leaf form. I would like it to roll off side to side here at the tip. So I'll do the same thing. Maybe this time I won't be so tidy about it. I could actually use another row of control points right here to do what I want to do. So I'm going to get that. You add points only as you need them. You want to keep your surface simple as you can to start. I do want another row right here, so I'll do insert not again. Is it still on my list? Yes. Pick my surface. It'll remember the last direction. It'll remember my last settings, which in this case is symmetrical, yes. Pull out between these two row points and click. Okay? That will not change the form. If I remove a knot, it'll change a form, but the shape. But if I add one, I'm okay. And that should have given me a point roughly right there at the edge, which is where I want it. And I want the one on the other side. I'll take these two going outward. And I'll take these two, see what I get. Move down a little bit. Just see if I like what happens. Yeah. That's okay. Now I have a question. Okay, there. It did update. In the middle of the command, the curve hadn't updated yet, and that scared me. Got to keep that curve updating. Looking at my curve, seeing if that's the kind of shape I like. Looking at my form, I'm happy. This is good. Okay. Now if I want to, and I trim this, it'll trim up both surfaces for me, and I'll have the outline of my leaf. But I want a rounded edge. I have to make it difficult. So I'm going back to my top C plane. Turn off my layers of surfacing. Turn back on my original line. I'm going to offset it a little bit. Now as I offset it, it's going to get corners, and I can't have corners. I'm aware of that. And the more I offset it, the more distortion I'm going to have to fight. So a big soft edge is more of a problem than a blunted edge. But I want a fairly soft edge, so I'm going to deal with that problem when I come to it. Because that's what I want you to do, guys. When you model, I want you to model what you want. I don't want you to settle for what Rhino wants. Not unless you have a happy accident and think, well, that's nice. But generally speaking, you're modeling to specification, either your own or somebody else's. Putting 3 circles. I did it quickly because they're all the same size. I did circle, center, radius, caught the end of that where those become a corner, and just pulled a dimension I like visually. Any dimension would do. I just don't want them too big, I don't want them too small. And then it's just a matter of repeating each one. I just hit enter to repeat the command, hit the corner, it remembers the last dimension, hit enter again. So click 2 enters and I'm done. I'm going to trim out the corners, delete the circles. I'm going to do a blend curve, adjustable. Actually, I like what it came up with. This one I'll mirror over, F2, F4, or F2, 0 for origin. Join it. Okay. I am going to project that onto my sculpted surface. I don't really need to apply history at this point. I could. Won't hurt. Why not? And I'll change that to my white layer so it's easy to see. Okay? And I will use this to trim. Okay? Now I want you to notice what's happened under here. That was Rhino's automatic choice of how to handle it. It's kind of blunted and squared it here and at the other end. It did some screwy things with the curve. Alright? So before I can trim, I have to actually project that curve. I have two choices. I can project or pull it. And I'll take a look and see which one I like best. If I project it, it'll give me the exact same curve straight below. Okay? And I think that's going to work. If I do a pull curve, see, if you look at this in the top view, they're the same curve. If I pull it, what Rhino does is it uses the surface below as a magnet and pulls that thing three-dimensionally by its control points. Okay? And this is what it had done by default when it trimmed, and it gave me those straightened, weird edges that I don't like. Okay? But it will give you a more natural sort of progression of how this sucks down onto the other surface. But I don't like the curve it gives me. So I have a choice. Either I fix this curve a little bit, or I use the other one, or, actually I'll leave it there, I come up with something that's in between. Put these on a different color altogether. To get something in between, I'll project this now. And look at them and see how much they vary. And honestly, they're not varying enough for me to want to mess with them. The projected curve is fine. I'm going to keep it. So now I'll trim my two surfaces. Oh, except for I want to break history. Okay, to break history, I'll cut this out, Control X. I've removed it from Rhino. It's sitting on the Windows clipboard. Okay, finish that command, then I can bring it back in and trim it. So now I have my two surfaces trimmed away. I'm now going to use a blend surface in between them as the beginning of my solution. Blend surfaces are often a maquette tool. They often don't give you exactly what you want, but they're a good place to start. I want that seam to be someplace less annoying than there. Preferably in the middle of back here would be good. So I'm going to pick some object snaps that I think might help me. I might have to create geometry for reference, but it looks like quadrant's going to work. Make sure it's straight. Make sure it's where I want it. Hit OK. Now, I want to take a look at how this looks compared to my outer drawing, so I am going to go into my top view. I'm going to hit Preview so I can see how close this surface comes to what I want. to try some options. I'm going to take same height. Click that. See what that gives me. I'm going to lock the two of them so that when I move one slider from one surface edge, it moves it from both. I basically want to get this as close as I can. Okay. Okay, I'll go back into perspective viewport. That's pretty nice. That isn't bad. I'll take it. Now, I might decide that I don't really care about how pointed these are. Do I really have to have them as pointed at the tips as what I've got? But see, I also get a little bit of strange math in the surface as it comes around here that I might not love. In fact, I know I don't love. So I am going to use this surface for what it was good for and chuck it for the rest. So I'm going to take a look back in my top view and see where it really starts to depart from what I want. It's not giving me what I want here. So I have two options. Well, I have several options, I always do. But two main principal options right now. I can extract an ISO curve. I don't want that direction, so I'll either click on this direction and change it to V, or just hit V, enter. Okay. This is what I would normally do. I could also do a cutting plane, which will give me a very straight thing that I could assign a construction plane to later. And if I want to change this cross section or get involved, that's nice to do. I don't think I'm going to need to do that, so that's good. That's good. That's okay. That's okay. All right. Back in perspective. I'm going to mirror those over. Select them all. And trim away the pieces of the surface that aren't usable. Okay, having some issues over here, I don't care about those, so I'll just delete these, throw that away, mirror these two over, and join these all up. See, we have a problem. I'm doing organic surfacing, and organic surfacing gave me slightly asymmetrical results. Just ever so slight. Okay? Slight enough that these don't want to play anymore. So I have to, I have other options I can do. I'm trying to think which one to show you, because it'll all be informative. I can just split this down the middle and mirror the whole thing over, but I might end up with a subtle seam down the middle. Let's see if I do. I'll need EMAP for this. Yes, EMAP serves a purpose besides just being fun. Right now I have no seam. Cutting plane, 0, enter, trim, mirror, join, get rid of that plane. It's good, so that's what we'll do. I would like to show you something more convoluted, but we don't have the time. I love showing you convoluted things because they're useful learning tools. But when easy will work, we'll do easy. Okay? I'll trim out the bottom. It's not as important to me if the bottom has a seam showing at all, but I'll check it just in case. Looks pretty nice. All right. And to join. Okay. Nice. Now, I need to create a sweep for the rest of these segments of surface. And to do that, I need to have an edge rail, an edge rail, an edge rail, and an edge rail, which I have. I have my cross sections, which would be here and here, and I have my rails. But often in Rhino, we need to have another rail. We need to have a rail that also defines the outside edge. That's exactly what we're looking for. We need this. And we have to do that. We have Surface from Curve Network. Very powerful tool. And I will introduce it in detail here. We will extract an isocurve. This time I want it to go the other way. So, okay. Now there's actually something interesting I should show you. When I do this, there is another option. It's called toggle. Okay? Toggle goes back and forth. So if you want to toggle, you can hit T enter. And that'll just it'll just toggle to the next one, which is often very helpful. Mid snap is what I want to use. I want to catch or quad, okay. I want to catch the middle of that cross section. Same thing here. I am going to want to mirror those over. My surface might be hard to might make it hard for me to see right now. So I'll turn that off. Turn off my basic drawing too. I can actually throw that curve away, as well as this one. I'm going to do adjustable blend curves. Starting at the point. I will go to my top view for this. Okay. If I hold down the Shift key while I drag on any of these points, it'll move them symmetrically. And I can decide how picky I want to be about getting an exact match for that point. But I think that's as good as we're probably going to achieve. Look at it three-dimensionally. It's nice. I'm going to repeat the command over here. Back into my top viewport. I don't want to hold Shift key down this time because I don't want it to be symmetrical. And I don't want my object snaps to keep grabbing things. So I'll hold down the Alt key with my thumb. You can use whatever finger you want. That will temporarily deactivate object snaps. That's close enough. Mirror that over. Because you have to remember, since this was pulled off of a surface, it's going to be a little bit different than our original curve. We're really looking for the spirit of the thing at this point. We want it to be accurate, but no one's going to tell. We're talking fractions of a curve, of a millimeter, in three-dimensional space, which no one's going to pick up on. Most important thing is that it's lovely. Okay, here's going to be some work. I do have to hold Shift key down here so that I get I don't like the points to overlap too much if I don't have to. I also have to hold down the Alt key. But looks like I'm going to have to. Yeah, this one's going to be the stubborn one. Not going to get as close as I would like here. That's still good. That's alright. Okay. I can delete the in-between parts now. They will only confuse me. Bring back my surface. Surface from curved network. You can have as many cross sections and as many rails as you want. It's a very, very powerful surfacing tool. Its drawback is it always makes a soft surface. You can't have any corners. It cannot make a poly surface. So even if your curves have joints and seams in them, there will be no kinks or anything in the finished surface, which can be a wonderful thing if you want to use a poly curve to make something and make sure it's one surface. Create that surface using surface from network of curves. But if you want more of a rigid machined feel, this tool doesn't give it. It gives a soft feeling. Okay, so it has its own feel, but it's very powerful and very flexible. So I'll show it to you here now. Surface from curved network right here. Select curves in network. Okay, you're going to pick them in directional bias. Usually rails first, then sections. First rail, second rail, third rail, section, section, enter. Now the really nice thing about this is it also has tangency control. Tangency is how much a surface flows, I should say continuity. It has continuity control. It allows you to control how much the child surface here has been influenced by the parent surfaces. And it can just be position as long as it's a surface edge. Now mind you, you can make a surface from curved network from nothing but curves, in which case this will be all blacked out because there's no continuity from other surfaces to be taken into consideration. But if there are surface edges, and all but one of these is a surface edge, okay, and it's not even listed because it's not a surface edge. It'll only list the things that are a surface edge. Give you the option. These are all we have 4 surface edges. We want it to have tangent continuity. Position is no continuity. Loose means rhino, you decide. Tangency means you want one level of control points into the surface to obey and listen to one row of control points into the parent surface. So you'll have basically 3 points. One out, one at the edge, and one into the new surface. The 3 points we always talk about having in a straight line to give tangency. It'll give you that all the way around in this case. Curvature goes 2 points into the new surface and listens to 2 points into the old surface. This is rarely usable. Sometimes it comes in handy, but try not to, it will usually give you a distorted surface. So if you want to preview it, you can click the preview box and it will show it to you first. Beautiful. Go along the back, same thing. Rail, uh-oh, we have a problem. I have 2 surfaces here. If I join these into a curve, Rhino will be happy to make me the surface, but it won't listen to the flow of these. I want it to listen to the flow of those. I really do. So I have to create a cross section. Fine. I'll mirror this over first. And join these in. Okay. I have to create a cross section. So to create the cross section, I'll just get a cutting plane out. Cutting plane, 0, enter for the origin, click with the ortho somewhere vertically here for the endpoint. Get a nice straight cutting plane. I want to have intersections where this meets the surface. So intersect command. And I want intersection where it meets this rail. So intersection, rail, rail, cutting plane. Okay, I can throw away my cutting plane now. Good news is that that is, of course, lined right up along our y-axis, which is our right C-plane. So we already have a C-plane to draw on built into Rhino. I need this to come out, pass through here with perfect tangency. That's what I need. The only way to get that it's going to be a challenge, I have to say. If I draw a line straight up and down, I can get the tangency going this way, but it'll give me a bit of a nose coming off the piece. Okay, so instead of doing it something that is really mathematically perfect, I'm going to go by eye. Curve tools, straight line, point snap, both sides. I'm going to rotate that curve until I get something nice. Something that looks like it's perpendicular to that curve. And I'm going to trim half of it away using the rail. And now I'll do a blend curve. Adjustable. Grab the wrong curve. I want this curve. That's nice. For the bottom of the curve, I'll actually throw this away. I'll grab that and this. Now this isn't so nice, okay? Okay, that's fine. It's not the most beautiful cross-section in the world. But it's okay. Try it out. Okay, I'm going to have to split this curve because all of the curves have to begin and end in a surface. Surfaces are always a square shape, so it has to always come one side, other side, side, and side. Once again, I can't come across this seam because it's two surfaces. Remember, I cut and mirrored, so I caused myself a problem. I can't come across that seam. Alright? So I can't have any of the curves that are part of the surface come across that seam either. So I had to split it. I want tangency as my problem. I want it to be smooth across the nose. So I'm going to give it a surface to pull information off of. Just like we talked about on a circle having a tangent, a quadrant, and you have a straight line coming in and that makes your tangent for your circle. Same thing will work here. We want that smoothness, so extruding straight out to the side improves our chances. Let's see what we get. Surface from curve network. Rail, rail, rail. Section. Here I want the surface edge and not the curve. Fine. Okay. Mirror that over. And because I pulled it off of that surface, I should have a fairly seamless tip. Okay, so a little buckling going on here. Top is pretty, and so is the bottom. Okay, we're going to repeat those steps back here. First off, rotate that curve. Go ahead and make my right C-plane active so I have a C-plane back there behind me. So that it's basically straight, so it's in line, just so I can calculate this curve nicely. Straight curve, point snap, both sides. And this is by eye once again. I'm just trying to get something. If this isn't good, this isn't good, that's okay, that's okay. That looks right to me. And that's all I have to go with. Trim off the top. Blend curve. I think that's good. However, I learned from the last one that the bottom half seemed to be the most complicated. Maybe we'll do that this time. Start from the bottom. So, trim. Oh, bottom looks pretty easy this time. You don't want to have a feeling of, so I'll back this up a little bit, just so I get more of a roundness. And now I'll use that bottom curve to feed the top half. Yeah, this ended up more symmetrical than the front one did. Fine. Join it together. Extrude half of it out, for our... I can actually delete that curve. I won't need it. Curve network. Rail. Okay, I didn't split it, see? My bad. And I threw away curve. Bring the curve back. I can just trim it. I don't even have to split it because I won't be using the other side. And then I can delete the curve. Because I'll be mirroring the surface I make, so the other half of this will never see use. Rail, 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 section, section, go. Delete. Top C-plane, mirror over, join. Check it. Pretty nice. Join. Pretty nice. Okay? I'm going to stop this here. Hopefully I'll have time to continue with this video on another time. But for now, that's enough to consume. Alright, thanks so much for watching.